to add on another revenue stream is just absolutely critical nowadays. And I think, I really think the restaurants that are going to succeed over the, not even long term, definitely the long term, but even in the medium term, are the ones that can say, hey, I'm going to open up new revenue streams beyond just the four walls of my restaurant. I'm going to add on digital streams to be able to capture more revenue, more time, connect with my customers in a better way. Those are going to be the restaurants that survive.
Hey, welcome back. It's Roger. Listen, Rockstars, we've all pivoted our business numerous times. And if you're still out there and if you're still surviving, awesome, right? But now it's about how do we really transform our business and move into the future? If you haven't already done so, implementing e-commerce solutions is really critical. It's a competitive advantage, but more than that, it's about safety and efficiency and convenience for your customer. Things that really emerged during the pandemic that now become expectations for the future. So in this episode, I'm speaking with Mr. Brian Cotlove, and he is the Chief Business Officer of a company called Bentobox. And they're an all-in-one e-commerce platform. They handle everything from websites to implementing online ordering in your restaurant. If you've brought customers back into your restaurant, there are features such as, digital ordering at the table, pay at the table. And that is especially important, especially during the labor shortage if you're finding yourself short-staffed. But think about other additional profit centers, such as catering that you can set up online and sell, and gift cards and retail merchandise and event tickets if you do events. All these things are possible with the Bentobox platform. So listen on.
You're tuned in to the Restaurant Rockstars Podcast. Powerful ideas to rock your restaurant. Here's your host, Roger Bodwin.
Rockstars, let me tell you about 7 Shifts. 7 Shifts is a modern labor management platform designed for restaurateurs by restaurateurs. Effective labor management is more important than ever to maximize profit and success, especially now as restaurants begin to reopen and expand their teams. Trusted by over 500,000 restaurant professionals, 7 Shifts gives you the tools you need to simplify scheduling, easily manage time and attendance, communicate with your team, and retain your talent. Best of all, 7 Shifts integrates with the POS and payroll systems you already use and trust, turning your team into a competitive advantage to your business. Right now, Restaurant Rockstars listeners can get 3 months absolutely free. Get started now at 7shifts.com/restaurant rockstars. That's the number 7, SHIFTS.com/restaurant rockstars to get 3 months of industry leading labor management for free. Now, on with the episode.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the Restaurant Rockstars Podcast. And as you know, these are engaging topics that help restaurants rock their profits, build their brands, and deliver amazing guest service experiences. This episode is all about the amazing guest service experiences and putting a digital presence forward for your restaurant. With me today, Mr. Brian Cotlove, and he is the Chief Business Officer for a company called Bentobox. Welcome to the show, Brian. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thanks so much for having me, Roger.
I'm really glad you're here. Interestingly, the word Bentobox, not everyone has heard of it, but it is fairly aware. And I looked it up this morning, and it's defined as a multi-compartment box that contains different courses of a traditional Japanese lunch or meal. So I'm sure that has relevance to the name of your company, but you mind explaining what that relevance might be?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as you know, Roger, we started out first as a website company for restaurants. And that actually, Bentobox had a lot of relevance to just the website itself, in that we created different modules or compartments for the website. So as a restaurant, you would have your menu module, you would have your private events module, you would have your catering module, and all had aspects, those translated into aspects of the website. And we created each of these modules specifically for restaurants so that they could, easily update, easily make changes, to easily maintain their digital presence online. So that's translated first to the website, but now as we've grown and expanded, this name Bentobox and these different compartments, these different aspects of the business has translated far beyond just the website. So as we've added on new products like online ordering, catering, being able to actually create and transact with private events, we have these different digital e-commerce modules that restaurants can take advantage of. So even as our company has expanded, the name is still very very apt to what restaurants need today in 2021.
Totally get it. That makes perfect sense. Thanks for explaining. So I always start by asking my guests what their backstory is in hospitality. And some people will say, oh, I was 15 years old and I was a fry cook at McDonald's or whatever it was. And people have their own different stories. And whether you've worked in restaurants before, somehow you got to the hospitality space. Why don't you tell us your journey?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I did do a little bit of serving during my high school and college days, but I had actually started out in the complete opposite end of the hospitality spectrum. I interned at a law firm after college, which is probably the most lacking of hospitality industry there is, and just did not like it, and knew that going into law school and going down that career path was not for me. And so I made the decision to move to France, taught English for a year, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And during the course of that, I met who ultimately became my business partner, who had a background in wine. And I loved what she was doing, and I loved the passion that she had for it. And we ended up, starting a business in food and wine tourism. Ended up staying out in France for 6 years, running a food and wine tourism company. So very much squarely in the hospitality space. Welcoming people from all over the world and helping them discover the world of French cuisine, French wine, and creating these memorable and very hospitable experiences during their time there. I got a crash course in hospitality and in tourism. But once I got that taste, I knew I never wanted to go back. And so everything since then has been related to tourism and hospitality. And that obviously very squarely led me to Bentobox 6.5 years ago, and loved what they were doing and the mission that they had, and knew I wanted to be a part of it.
That's fantastic. This is a business of true passion. I've been in a lot of different businesses, restaurants included, and I just really can't think of anything that involves a person so deeply as the word hospitality and what that word means and how that translates into a guest experience, and how every single day operators, myself included, we get up and we think, okay, how can we deliver the best experiences possible, the food, the beverage, and the service to our customers? And, it really is about passion. And I call it the business of 1,000 details. It really is. And you have a particularly fascinating journey. Now, Bentobox has a female CEO. Can you tell us how old the company is, when it was founded, and how the idea for Bentobox really sort of germinated and how that company came to be?
Yeah, absolutely. So Bentobox was founded by Crystal Mobayeni back in 2013. And Crystal has a background in product and web design. And so she was creating a lot of websites for various different clients. And a few of those were restaurants in New York. And what she realized was, even though these were sort of one-off, unique projects, by the time she had done her second and definitely her third restaurant, she had realized, like, hey, wait a second, you guys have very, very specific needs that are all very similar. And to give you a little background on website design, if you want a custom website that is built from the ground up on a custom built platform, it is very expensive to do. All right. And so she was rebuilding these same things for each of these customers because they had the same needs as restaurants. And so she said, hey, there's something here, right? If I can create a platform that will work, that will provide these tools and services to create a great digital presence for restaurants, there's probably a lot of other people like these handful that I've started to do that would need this as well. And because if I'm creating a platform, I can make it more accessible, I can make it cheaper, I can get the onboarding done quicker, all these great things that come from creating a platform. So started by Crystal back in 2013 with a handful of restaurants in New York, and we've grown from there to over 7,000 restaurants across the country and across the world, and just been so lucky to work with, as you said, this industry and these people that are so passionate about what they do and transforming their vision and their passion into their story online.
That's a beautiful story. Thanks for bringing that to us. The pandemic has turned this industry upside down. And unfortunately, so many restaurants have been forced to close. And it's really, survival of the fittest. And what you're offering right now, I think your company is so well positioned for the future. But you've obviously, helped your customers through the pandemic. Some of these things, such as online ordering, we're going to get in all the ins and outs of the details of the platform. But, some of your offerings have already helped so many restaurants come through this. But now it's sort of given them a whole new sort of business model for the future, which will never go back to the way things were before. So whether you're full service fine dining or you're counter serve, quick serve, or just takeout only, it's like everything you have is just so perfectly aligned with what we need to do. So can you tell us maybe some of the stories about what happened with Bentobox and when this thing just kind of blindsided all of us a year or so ago? Like what happened? And, did you already have all this suite of services then? Or did some of them come on recently that just sort of improved as a result of the pandemic? Tell me about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so we had, pre-pandemic, we had some, I would call lightweight e-commerce offerings. You could sell gift cards and you could sell merchandise directly on your website and under your own brand. And it was good timing on our part. About 2 months before COVID hit, we released the beta version of our online ordering product that allowed restaurants to create an online ordering store directly on their website with their own brand, their photos, their whole e-commerce flow directly on their site. And then obviously as COVID hit, that became just a lifeline for restaurants that had to close, that this was the only way that they were going to be able to generate any kind of revenue and stay in business. And so we immediately, as a company, pivoted from 80% websites and 20% e-commerce focused to 99% e-commerce focused and 1% website in terms of developing and quickly iterating on the tools and services that we provided to help restaurants. I don't even want to say succeed, but just survive right during this time. So adding on things like delivery integration so that they could get more food out to more people and their customers, adding on tools like remarketing services. So as they're getting to keep that customer data that is now their own, they can now remarket to their customers. They can provide promo codes to them as well for their most loyal customers. So we've just been adding more and more features to that online ordering product to make it honestly the best in the business for restaurants. And in addition to that, we've now, as things are coming out of the pandemic, we've added on to our events management suite and our catering suite as well. Just further tools that allow restaurants to monetize outside of the four walls of the restaurant.
So things are getting back to normal now. I think there's a lot of optimism that the worst is over, even though we keep hearing about the new variant. Obviously, the vaccine has helped tremendously, but consumer confidence is at an all-time high. Restaurants are absolutely booming. They're struggling with the labor shortage, of course. How do we keep up with the demand, the pent-up demand one, and the climate is warming for summer in many parts of the country and all that kind of stuff. And that is a huge, problem that's going on. Let's talk about what are the changing restaurant, economics in the business right now? Like what's happening? What does Bentobox see as being changing in the industry economically?
Yeah, well, I think so I mean, you touched on it a little bit. I think obviously there's restaurants have, I don't need to tell you, but the restaurants have always been a very slim margin business.
Absolutely true.
Right, even in the best of times, and those margin pressures, you got a lot of cost pressures on the supply chains that are forcing restaurants to unfortunately raise prices, even though they don't want to. And so those margin pressures, I would say, are even more exacerbated now. And so restaurants, to add on another revenue stream is just absolutely critical nowadays. And I think, I really think the restaurants that are going to succeed over the not even long term, definitely in the long term, but even in the medium term, are the ones that can say, hey, I'm going to open up new revenue streams beyond just the four walls of my restaurant. I'm going to add on digital streams to be able to capture more revenue, more time, connect with my customers in a better way. Those are going to be the restaurants that survive. And so, I had argued even before COVID that a digital strategy was absolutely necessary. Now I think there's no question about that with restaurant owners and the restaurant industry that is an absolute necessity to survive.
You mentioned a key marketing element a moment ago about owning the data. And we know that there are platforms out there that literally keep control of that data, but there's such a powerful marketing tool in knowing the data, who your customers is, how often they come in, maybe some personal issues, not issues, personal, information about your customer, maybe birthdays, special events, all that kind of stuff. And your company absolutely, provides this information.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. And to be clear, like first off, we want our restaurants, we want them to own the data. Like this is their customers. Bentobox is all about enhancing that relationship between the restaurant and the guest and making sure that Bentobox does not step in between that relationship, right? So, when you ask a random consumer, hey, what's Bentobox, right? A random restaurant lover, restaurant diner, what's Bentobox? They'll mention the Japanese lunch, right? Most restaurant consumers have never heard of our brand. And we think that's a good thing, right? We want you to know about your favorite restaurant. When you go and order online, we want their logo at the top of that checkout receipt. We want a text message from them. So owning that customer data is critical. And what it can really do is it can really help empower delivering on that hospitality for restaurants. You sort of touched on it just a little bit. Like imagine if, when you go into the restaurant, if they know it's your birthday, if they know this is your 10th time here, or if you go in and they've never seen your face before, if that restaurant knows, hey, during COVID, this person ordered from me twice a week, right? You're going to be able to offer that elevated level of hospitality to them. You're going to give them, you're going to comp them a dish or comp them a drink, or the owner's going to come over to the table and say, hey, thanks. And that type of, it can create a much more elevated level of hospitality. And when a lot of people think about like, owning data, they're like, this is going to be creepy, or this is going to be controversial. But, at Bentobox, we're committed to helping do this in a way that is only elevating that aspect of hospitality for restaurants.
Yeah, I love it. Keeps coming back to that word hospitality. And hospitality for me is defined as, hospitality is absent when something happens to a customer. Hospitality is present when something happens for the customer. And people crave that personal recognition, and the personal touch provided by any or all members of the staff really are a competitive advantage in this business. So I think that is a real powerful communication tool. And I do believe that leads to increased visits, and it increases positive online reviews and all those things. It just kind of trickles down from that very simple premise of touching the customer in a personal way, recognizing them. I love using this analogy, but it's that Cheers formula where people want to go where everyone knows their name, that popular TV show. And it is absolutely true. And any restaurant that, that treats each and every customer, even if they're a first-time visitor, as if they're a regular or a local or, an awesome person that walks in the door, if that person is treated special, guaranteed they're going to come back. And that's just going to lead to, so everything you're doing is enhancing that simple magic formula in restaurants, and it all comes down to hospitality. So let's break down each of the offerings one at a time. It began with websites, and I know that you make this platform so simple and customizable, and your restaurant clients can literally customize their own websites. They can make changes, they can add features, they can do all this stuff. So let's talk about the websites first. Sure. I've always believed that a great restaurant website literally brings the restaurant vibe and experience and personal touch to the customer online before they even get near the place or walk in the door. And that is a compelling thing that in so many cases makes a customer decide to try that restaurant. And I think that's the way your company started to design it. It's like bring the experience to life for the customer with a really powerful dynamic website that has all the features and all that. So I don't want to speak for you. You tell us about. Let's start with websites and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, you hit on all the right things. I always, when I talk to restaurant owners, I always remind them that they put so much time, attention, love, and care into that experience. From the moment you walk in the door, right? They have thought about everything. What is the guest going to see, right? Where are they going to sit? What's the music? What's the temperature? How are things situated, right? Like they think about all those little details to create this great experience of hospitality. And then I remind them that probably anywhere from 10 to 50 times as many people are going to experience their restaurant first on the website. And so you need to have that same level of hospitality, that same experience, or not the same experience, but delivering that same idea of your brand directly on the website. So it's making sure that it's welcoming and inviting and getting people excited about what you're doing in the actual four walls of the restaurant. So yeah, absolutely. But you mentioned design first. Obviously, our CEO is a designer herself, so everything that we do is rooted in design. And so we want to make sure that site is designed well, it represents your brand well online, and that people are like, yeah, this is an exciting place to go to, and it feels exciting. And so we have a team of designers in-house that do all the design. They're expert designers. They do restaurant websites. They know exactly how to design them to create those great emotions and get people interested in coming to your site. But then more importantly, just as importantly, how the sites are laid out, how the menus are structured, how even things like down to contact forms on the website, how they're structured to actually increase the number of visitors that interact and engage with your restaurant. So we make it very simple to fill out a private event form. We make sure that the reservation and online ordering buttons are very prominent on desktop, tablet, and mobile. We make sure that all those little touch points on the website create this great experience from start to finish that ultimately lead to more people coming into your restaurant or ordering food online from you or booking a private event, right? And again, just in the same way that a restaurant owner or operator will create all those little touch points in the restaurant to create this great end-to-end experience, that's what Bentobox does on the website.
That's beautiful. So there's analytical tools as well that will tell us about the analytics.
Yeah, absolutely. So, again, we talked a little bit before about customer data, right? So first off, you can absolutely see, how sort of the basic stuff around how many people are visiting your website, what pages they're coming from, to see if that press article or that advertisement that you did online is generating actual return for you. But all of the transactions, all the contact forms, all like that, all that information we collect, right? And then we deliver it to the restaurant owner so that they can have a more robust view of the guest data experience. So all that information we're collecting, delivering up to the restaurant, they can see, hey, this person I've seen in the restaurant once, but they've actually ordered multiple times online for me. I now have a better view, a more complete view of my guests, right? And what they're doing both online and offline, and connecting those things together.
So you have a dashboard. So I'm assuming that all this information is visible from the dashboard, but is that also sort of the portal to a client being able to make their changes, their adjustments on the fly? And is there let's just assume I am not a tech person at all, and I just and I'm a new Bentobox client, and I've got a new Bentobox website. How user friendly is it to go into the dashboard and do all this stuff? Do I get a tutorial from, a rep who's my personal account manager? Do I watch YouTube videos? It's like, how do I get up to speed in the platform? And how easy is it, and how long does it take to get up to speed?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I can't stress enough and reiterate that Bentobox is specifically for restaurants, right? This is the only industry that we serve, and Bentobox was built from the ground up specifically for restaurants. Yes. So when you log into the back end, when you go into the Bentobox portal, as you call it, all those tools, the way it's set up, the way it's laid out, was done specifically with the restaurant owner and operator in mind, whether you're tech savvy or not. So if you want to do things like change your menus, if you want to view your analytics, if you want to see how many private event inquiries you've gotten, if you want to manage your online orders, all that is in one simple backend, right? One login. You don't need to have 10 different passwords or 10 different dashboards open or anything like that. It's all right there. So absolutely. So if you get started with Bentobox, we're going to create your beautiful website for you, make sure it looks great. We're going to launch it for you, and then you're going to get a dedicated account manager that is going to train you on Bentobox, make sure you're up to speed, understand everything, and that you can do the things that you need to do yourself, right? And oftentimes, Roger, we do get a lot of restaurant owners that are like, I don't want to deal with this. I want somebody to do it for me. Like I know that feeling. Tried to do this before, right? I'm just, can you have somebody do it for me? And once we show them how to do it, they're like, okay, I get it, right? And that is being able to, I got this, yeah. And being able to, I mean, look, like if you need to change your menu, right, on a Saturday evening, right, the burger you don't have, it's no longer on the menu for whatever reason, right? You want to take that off. Doing that in 5 seconds on your own is a way better experience than being like, let me email somebody over at Bentobox, right? Let me wait for the email back, or let me try and call somebody, right? Or I had this agency that I was working with and they're not there on the weekends or what have you. Like, that's a terrible experience. That's not hospitality at all.
No.
And so, yeah, and so being able to do that very easily on your own and have the control, right, to be able to do that is a much better experience for the restaurant owner and operator.
So it's not only empowering, but it sounds like it's fun to do. Like you really get into it. It's like, hey, this is.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, like obviously I love technology, so I would consider it fun. I mean, I don't know how many people. I'm sure there are some of our customers that consider it fun, but it definitely is easy. That is for sure.
You made it sound fun. Let's talk about two important things. ADA compliance is becoming more of an issue, and there's been some lawsuits out there about ADA compliance in websites. Let's talk about that. And I know that Bentobox creates ADA compliant sites, but for those out there that haven't heard about this, let's talk about the importance and what's going on and why ADA compliant.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you touched on that. So as many restaurant owners know, for their physical establishment, they have to make sure that they're ADA compliant, that they have ramps where ramps are required, that doorways are a certain width, right? So if they're doing a build out, this is something that they have to be cognizant of, maybe hire a consultant specifically to help them with this. So most restaurant owners know about ADA for physical establishments. But what many don't realize is that through a lot of court cases, this has now been interpreted to apply to the digital presence as well. And so, you need to make sure that your online website is in line with ADA standards. And so, there are lots of ways to do this. But I can tell you this, Roger, is that if you go and hire some random person to build you a website, 100% guaranteed that they have not built it correctly to be accessible. Right. It is a very niche sort of area of technical design, and so you need to work with somebody that has this experience, that has been trained on how to do it properly. So at Bentobox, we have our team of engineers, product managers, and designers have been trained on this, and we work with outside consultants to make sure that we're doing it correctly, even as we build new features. So with Bentobox, we've built that platform again from the ground up to make sure that these standards are incorporated into everything that we do. So when you come to Bentobox, you know that you're going to have a website that has been built to these standards. And like you said, to your point, like just on that point, I wanted to sort of highlight the severity of this, right? If you don't do this, the threat is a potential lawsuit. And unfortunately, right, there's a lot of sort of, drive-by lawsuits that happen out there and looking for a quick settlement. And depending on the size of your restaurant, it can be anywhere from $5,000, and I've heard up to $50,000 for some of the larger restaurants. And again, I don't need to tell you, like for restaurants, that it can be a sum of money that debilitating.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about mobile optimization. Like you almost need to start with that when you design a website, because most people are on their phones versus laptops. And so many people go to a phone just randomly to decide where they're going to eat or what's next. So how challenging is that to put all this information so that it's so easily digestible and easily navigatable on a phone versus on a big screen?
Yeah, well, when a quick little side story here is that when I started at Bentobox 6.5 years ago, so we track all the data. One of the things we track is what percentage of visitors are coming on viewing all the websites on desktop versus mobile versus tablet. And when I started 6.5 years ago, it was about just under 40% of the overall traffic was on a mobile device. Yep. And that number has just goes up every single year, right? And about 4 years ago, it crossed the 50% threshold, and now it's up into like the 60+% threshold. So when you think about your website and your digital presence as a restaurant owner and operator, like you have to think mobile first, because the majority of people that are visiting your site, that are having that first touch point with your brand, oftentimes are viewing it on their phone. And so at Bentobox, all of our design, right, and this is from both the front end design, the consumer facing, and the back end, all of the products we do, our design is mobile first. And so what that means is that we are optimizing everything for the mobile view first, making sure that is good, and then translating things into desktop and tablet. And so at Bentobox, when you view that website as a consumer and you view that menu, you're going to be able to easily do it, easily navigate, right, on your mobile device. And what that ultimately means to the restaurant owner is that more visitors are going to convert into paying customers,
Love
right?
it.
Because they're going to be able to more easily fill out that private event form, more easily find that online ordering button, more easily find that dish that they're super excited, right? And they're so glad is on your menu, and then be able to easily make a reservation. Those little touch points matter. And especially on mobile, because people's patience is very thin online, and it's even thinner on a mobile device. So if they can't find the information they're looking for within literally seconds, they're gone. You've lost a potential customer. You've lost a potential regular into your establishment. So so everything we do at Bentobox is mobile first, making sure it's optimized for that experience.
You know, one of the most daunting and frustrating challenges in the past and even recently with websites is SEO. That's like this mystery no man's land that very few people understand, but it is so vitally important. And in my own experiences, and I'm sure a lot of the listeners as well, it's like this separate thing that can be so expensive to hire an SEO expert. Okay, you've gone through all the trouble and expense. I shouldn't even say trouble and expense, but you go through the effort and the expense of creating an amazing website, and now suddenly people have to find it. But this is all part of the package now, and you've got SEO experts to optimize that. Tell us about it.
Absolutely. So, and I want to bill myself here as an SEO expert, because it is a sort of a niche gray area of the online world. But what I do know is that for 99.9% of restaurants, hiring an SEO consultant is a waste of money for them, right? It is a black hole pit of money that will just suck it all away from you, and you will probably see nothing in return. It is very difficult to get outsized returns on an investment on that front for an independent business owner and operator, right? But what you do need to do when it comes to SEO is you need to get the basics right. Right. And so, one great example of this is making sure that, things like menus, there's this, making sure that the data is built in a structured way so that a search engine like Google can read that data and know that it's menu data and pull that into their search engine. And Bentobox, the platform that we have built, has taken all of that structured data into account. So when you update your menu, when you put in a new menu item into Bentobox, it all goes into the right format automatically, right? So that Google can easily read that. It knows its menus. It knows this is ours. It knows this is your address, right? And can easily suck up that information. And so that is what you need as an independent restaurant owner. You need to get right. And if you do your own custom build, custom website design, it's unsure if they're going to actually do that correctly. It's going to cost you a lot more, but with Bentobox, it comes built in right out of the box, all the SEO standards and basics that you're going to need as a restaurant owner. Beautiful. And then you just don't have to think about it ever again.
Or worry about it. Yeah. I'm glad we touched on that, because that's such an important piece, that you can suddenly forget about now and have confidence that this is going to be optimized. I think that's great. Yep. Let's dive into online ordering. We talked briefly about it earlier in the conversation and how that has been so vitally important to restaurant survival, especially when dining rooms have been shut down and models have pivoted to takeout and delivery and all this kind of stuff. And the convenience that online ordering provides to the customer is such an amazing thing. But there's a lot of platforms out there that will charge for that. And I understand there's zero commissions here, but can you sort of walk us through the process of how it works and how easy that is to set up, through the website, and how consumers literally can order from any device and just at their convenience, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna stress about the economics of the two things, right? The economics of it, and then the data piece that we talked about earlier and how critical this is. So with Bentobox, you can, as a restaurant, you can create your own direct branded online ordering experience directly online. This is not a Bentobox app. This is not Bentobox's website. This is rogersrestaurant.com or briansrestaurant.com. It is your online ordering experience for your restaurant, right? So that is super critical in two ways. One, it means that when a consumer is ordering directly from you, they're ordering from your brand, right? Builds up that loyalty, but you're going to get more of the revenue. A lot of these marketplaces out there, they're charging 15, 20, sometimes up to 30% or more for that. And again, in a low margin industry, right? Like
can't afford that. Nope.
Can't afford that. It can kill a business. So restaurant owners get to take more of that revenue for themselves. But then even more importantly is that they get to keep that relationship with the customer, right? So they get to keep their data, but they get to know, right, that the customer came to them. They can, now with Bento Ordering, you can remarket to them. So we have a lot of tools that that allow you to remarket to that customer. Say, hey, you've ordered from me X number of times. Thank you so much. Here's a free item, or here's a discount on your next order. To enhance that aspect of hospitality, right? You can't do that with the marketplaces, because with the marketplaces, that customer, that diner, they are a customer of the marketplace, not of your restaurant, right? And so Bento Ordering allows you to easily do that. So in terms of getting set up, it's super easy. It takes, you can get up and running like in as little as a day. We just need your menu. If you have photos, we need that, right? And you can have your own branded online ordering website up and ready to go. And I, as a consumer, I can open up on my mobile phone, I can open up on a website, I can open up on a tablet. And again, because we are design first and we're mobile first on my mobile phone, I can easily find those menu items. The checkout process is as easy as can be to make sure that we're converting more visitors into paying customers, right? And then again, like that customer gets that email confirmation from Brian's restaurant, from Roger's restaurant, and now I've become a customer of that restaurant as opposed to a customer of another company.
Can that email communication be extremely personalized, or is it more of a generic message?
Yeah, it can absolutely be personalized. But a couple, one of the many beauties of Bentobox is that we set up all the basics for restaurants, but then allow the customization if they want to. Right. So again, it goes back to this aspect of control, is that we're giving you the control to do that if you want to, but if you don't, right, hey, we've got the basics set up for you, right? So if, hey, I'm a busy restaurant owner, what that email confirmation says, it's not of the utmost important to me. I've got other issues to deal with, like, finding staff for my restaurant.
Yes, of course.
That's fine, right? Out of the box, works great. We've got all the confirmation emails, all the back and forth set up and ready to go. But if you are somebody that, hey, I actually want to personalize this, I want to make sure it's like even more catered to my brand. Those touch points are very important to me, and I want to optimize those for my restaurant. Absolutely, you can do that as well. And again, we give you the tools to be able to very easily, very simply, whether you're tech savvy or not, do that on your own.
As an operator, I've always believed, and I recommend to my consulting clients as well, that you cannot have too many profit centers in any restaurant business. And you have an e-commerce tool. And, in my flagship place, we sold concert tickets because we had rock bands 2 nights a week. We had special events like Mardi Gras parties and Super Bowl parties and all this kind of stuff. And we sold tickets in advance. And of course, the gift cards are a given. Everybody needs gift cards today. We sold, retail merchandise, logo wear, packaged foods to go, all this kind of stuff. And now your tool allows that to happen in restaurants as well. So walk us through the e-commerce platform and, how it is to set that up. And again, I'm hearing that it's a seamless process because I've got a dedicated account rep that's helping me do all this stuff. But that's a biggie, profit
for
centers
sure.
right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, like, as I said earlier, like, having more profit centers, having more revenue streams as a restaurant in this day and age is absolutely critical. And again, those, as you want to set those up, Bentobox allows you to do that very easily, all in one platform. And again, most importantly, that relationship between your guest and you, the restaurant, is going to be maintained. You are going to have that direct interaction, right? You're going to have their data, and be able to build on that relationship. So so at Bentobox, if you want to sell t-shirts, hats, barbecue sauces, pasta, whatever it may be, we can absolutely set that up for you very easily. So again, our account manager, our onboarding team at the initial setup can take all your information and set it up, get it live so you can start taking orders immediately. But then most importantly is that if you have changes or modifications to make, again, we can help you if you need to, if you'd like us to do that. But if you're out of stock on something, you need to zero something out, you want to change the price of something on the fly, we give you the tools to be able to do that quickly, simply, and efficiently yourself, whether you're tech savvy or not. So absolutely. If you've got t-shirts and hats, you're selling them in the restaurant, absolutely sell them online, right? If you do events, now that events are opening up, whether it be ticketed events, you can do those directly on your website, right? And again, you don't have to be a website designer. You don't have to be tech savvy. You just fill out a couple, click a couple buttons in the back end, and then on your existing website, it will create a branded, dedicated page to this new event that people can purchase tickets for and check out right, easily directly on your site. They're going to get a branded email with your logo and your custom message if you want one, in their email inbox. Again, it's enhancing that experience that you have directly with that restaurant. And what it ultimately does is creates more loyal customers, and it creates a better hospitality experience because you as the operator are getting more of that information, a better view of that diner to create that better experience.
So visuals are super important, whether that be professional photography. And I'm sure, you require, in order to build out the brand and be on strategy and create the image and the aura of a restaurant online, to have that really powerful digital presence, professional photography is really important. So I'm sure you recommend that. Also video, any videos that can bring the whole experience to life and market and merchandise all the food and all your signature items, and, even events, if you can film prior events, and catering is a part of this. If there's any video or photography of the catering that a restaurant provides, you can load all this stuff pretty easily, right?
Yeah, very easily. Yeah. And again, like if, that it can be a little daunting initially, or like for a restaurant owner, like, oh, I've got to build this whole thing. Like it's this huge effort, all that sort of stuff. Beginning, we've got our team here to help do that. Right. And get that set up initially. So, hey, just send us over the photos, the videos, whatever you have. And our team will take care of the rest. And then from then on, right. Again, our team is here to help. If you have questions, you need, our team is here to help. But as I mentioned before, like, we're going to empower you, give you that control to be able to easily do it yourself from there on out. But yeah, absolutely. Like your point about photos and videos, I think they're of critical importance to give people that sense and the idea of what they can expect in the restaurant. And so absolutely, it's something we recommend. We have a lot of relationships with great photographers across the country. And so if they need recommendations, we're happy to help connect them. But it is something that I think goes hand in hand with building an online presence across not just their website, but also social media as well.
We touched on this as well earlier, and we talked a little bit about, short staffing in restaurants being a huge challenge right now, and dine-in returning. And so many restaurants out there were dine-in pre-pandemic. They've had to pivot, but now that is still an important part of their model, and dining rooms are filling up again. You also have a tool that helps with the short staffing piece because you've got digital ordering and pay at the table functions. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean the staffing issue on this is a perfect example of where this helps. So yeah, just like as a consumer, I can order online using my phone. I can in the restaurant, right, through a QR code, I can pull up that menu right at the table. I can very easily browse because it's designed so well. The menu, and I can complete my order directly at the table, right, without having to interact with the server. So for restaurants that are short-staffed, right, they can use this tool very easily to make sure that they're still able to fill tables, right, and also turn over tables quicker. Right, yes. Because it cuts down on that time. You don't need to tell you of waiting for the server to come over to place your order initially, to potentially place a reorder, but then also for the check and the bill to do the checkout process. There's that whole song and dance that neither party really likes.
Of
and
course.
So you can check out directly at your table. You're going to turn tables absolutely faster as a restaurant owner. And so I think there's some things from COVID in the restaurant technology industry that are going to that are going to stick around. And I absolutely think that this is one of those things that is going to stick around, right? And again, as restaurant owners are facing even more increased margin pressures, having staffing issues, this is something that I think all restaurant owners should consider, and many restaurant owners should implement in some way at their restaurant to start taking advantage of it, because it's a huge boon.
Fantastic. Well, we did a real deep dive into Bentobox today, Brian, and we've covered a lot of ground. Have we missed anything? Is there anything else you want to tell our audience?
Yeah, if we can go into one other
Please.
product,
I'd love
to touch on events management. It's something else that we do, and especially again coming out of the pandemic, as dining rooms open up, private events. Again, I don't need to tell you, Roger, or many of your listeners, how private events are just a great from a revenue standpoint and business standpoint, that you can always have another private event. And so Bentobox not only helps you capture more private event inquiries by creating a great branded page on your website about private events, but it helps you capture more inquiries. And the way that we set up these forms and the way that literally the placement on the page of this form matters, right? And the more inquiries you get, it means the more business. But beyond that, once that inquiry is done, it's sent in, we give the tools for the private events managers to be able to create BEOs, to create contracts, to more quickly book that private event, right? And with these tools, you're going to get more business guaranteed from your private events business. And so as restaurant owners are thinking about with opening up and thinking about these private events revenue streams, we have tools for that. And again, it's all part of this one easy to use platform. All the data from all the guests are right there. All the tools are right there in one single login and one single platform. So very easy to use. So that's the last thing I want to mention.
Awesome. So our audience can find you at getbento.com. And I was on all the pages earlier, like checking it all out. And I saw that you've got sort of free demos. You want to tell us about it?
We absolutely. Yeah, we have free demo. And I like to mention that when you interact with Bentobox staff, whether it's on the sales side, onboarding, support, customer success, whoever it may be, there is a greater than 80% chance that person you're talking to has worked in the hospitality industry before. So this is something that we look for when we hire our staff members, people that have restaurant experience themselves, and have that hospitality mindset. So I know a lot of restaurant owners are like, oh, I talk to salespeople, I get demos, like I don't want to do that. I promise that this will be a great experience, be very consultative. And even if you say, hey, Bentobox is not right for me, I know you'll walk away from the experience having learned something about your digital presence and how to optimize that. So it's more educational than anything else. So I encourage all restaurant owners to get a free demo.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Brian, for being a great guest on the Restaurant Rockstars podcast. Once again, that is getbento.com. Thanks, audience, for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next episode. That's a wrap. Thank you so much. That was a blast.
Great. Thank you. I really enjoyed it as well. Yeah. Thank you so much, Roger.
Guys, it's more important now than ever to maximize every single sale every day in your restaurant. And more importantly, to maximize the profit on every sale every single day in your restaurant. So thanks so much to Brian Cotlove from Bentobox for sharing his wisdom and all that platform does to increase sales and profits in your restaurant. Thanks to our sponsors, Cisco and 7 Shifts, the all-in-one labor management platform. Let me tell you, if you're interested in new profit centers for your restaurant and ways to maximize every sale and every profit in your restaurant, everything you need can be found in our Restaurant Rockstars Academy. It's literally a turnkey template to maximizing sales and profits, to training your staff to serve and sell, to come up with new profit centers, also maximizing marketing return on investment. I'm talking about really powerful marketing that costs you little or no money, that really drives in new and repeat business. And there's obviously the ROI. We also teach you how to build a mug club. One of the most important things right now is building a database so you can market and communicate to your customers, offer them real value, and give them reasons to come back again and again. And having a mug club, if you serve draft beer or even if you have a coffee shop, it creates intense loyalty and raving fans for your business. I teach you how to do all of this, how to build that business, how to build that database, how to get it sponsored so the program costs you nothing. And best of all, your customers will be coming in multiple times a week. If they used to come in once or twice a month, you will not be surprised to see them coming in 3 or 4 times a week and spending money in addition to the membership fees. And you can do so much with that money. And right now, it's so important with rising labor costs and having difficulty attracting new staff. And you've got to pay higher wages and bonuses and incentives. You need a way to pay for this. So the Academy is loaded with ideas. So whether you look at the Academy by itself or our Mug Club program is a standalone program, we have the solutions. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks for listening to the Restaurant Rockstars Podcast. For lots of great resources, head over to restaurantrockstars.com. See you next time.